The Jikook phenomenon shook the world of K-pop fandom again, especially the ARMY, after an unexpected moment involving Jeon Jungkook and Park Jimin occurred in Japan. In an occasion that was also attended by Choo Sung Hoon, the interaction between the two BTS members was successful in making fans excited and unprepared for what they witnessed. The moment takes place in a relaxed but attentive atmosphere. At first, no one expected that the meeting would turn out to be so emotional and full of meaning. Jungkook and Jimin looked as usual, joking, laughing, and demonstrating their long-known closeness to the public. However, the mood slowly changes as the two begin to show gestures that are deeper, more personal, and feel different from their previous interactions. Choo Sung Hoon, who was there, seemed to be watching with interest. As a figure who is known to be close to many K-pop idols, his presence seems to be a witness to a moment that is difficult to describe in words. Even in some footage circulating on social media, his facial expression shows a sense of surprise and admiration to see the closeness of Jungkook and Jimin. The fans who watched the video immediately crowded to talk about it. Many felt that what Jungkook and Jimin displayed was not just a fan service or ordinary interaction between group members. A deep look in the eyes, a light touch full of meaning, as well as body language so natural that many people believe that there is something more than just friendship. In one of the most talked about moments, Jungkook is seen staring at Jimin with an expression he rarely shows in public. The gaze was assessed by fans as a form of frankness of feelings that is difficult to hide. Jimin replied with a gentle smile that made the atmosphere more emotional. This simple interaction is actually the main highlight because it is considered very sincere and not made up. Not only that, the way they communicate with each other is also the subject of analysis of the fans. Small movements such as touching the shoulders, approaching each other while talking, to spontaneous reactions when one speaks, everything feels so synchronous. This reinforces the notion that their relationship has a strong emotional depth. On the other hand, part of the fans tried to look at this moment from a more realistic point of view. They argue that Jungkook and Jimin's closeness is the result of a long friendship that has been established over the years since the trainees' time. Given the long journey they have been on together, it is no wonder that the two have a very strong bond and look so comfortable with each other. However, precisely therein lies its appeal. Is this just a very close friendship, or is there something more? This question is again sticking out and becoming a hot topic on various social media platforms. Hashtags related to Jikook have even become trending, with thousands and even millions of interactions from fans around the world. Interestingly, this moment in Japan feels different because it happens in the presence of an outside figure like Choo Sung Hoon. The presence of a third person who is not part of the group makes Jungkook and Jimin's interaction look more honest and unfiltered. Many fans feel that they are not showing something for the camera, but really being themselves. Choo Sung Hoon's reaction also adds spice to this story. In some pieces of the video, he can be seen smiling while shaking his head, as if he did not expect the dynamics that were happening in front of him. This further led fans to speculate that what they saw was indeed something special. Amid various speculations, one thing is certain is the strength of the relationship between Jungkook and Jimin. Be it as best friends, co-workers, or something more, both have shown that they have a very strong connection. And for the fans, that's what makes them so beloved. The Jikook phenomenon itself is not new. For a long time, Jungkook and Jimin have been one of the most popular pairings among the ARMY. Every interaction, they have always managed to attract attention, even for the little things. However, this moment in Japan feels like a level up that makes many people again question the dynamics of their relationship. Not a few also feel that this moment gives hope and happiness of its own. Seeing two people so close and supporting each other is certainly something that touches the heart. Regardless of the label or interpretation given, their relationship remains a source of inspiration for many. In the end, is it true that Jungkook and Jimin showed their true feelings in front of Choo Sung Hoon? Or is all this just an interpretation of the fans who got carried away? The answer may never be completely clear. But one thing is for sure, this moment has created unforgettable memories for the fans. And as always, Jikook once again proved that they have an appeal that cannot be explained by logic alone. A connection that feels real, warm, and meaningful. enough to make the fandom world tremble again. The euphoria created from the moment did not stop only on the day of the incident. In the next few days, various pieces of videos, photos, and in-depth analysis from fans continued to appear on social media. Every little detail of the interaction between Jungkook and Park Jimin seems to be evidence that is constantly being assembled to understand what really happened between the two. In fact, some fans who are known to be meticulous began to compare this moment with Jikook's interactions in the past. They found interesting patterns from the way Jungkook tends to be more protective of Jimin to how Jimin always gives a warm, attentive response. These things may seem simple to some, but for the fans, that's exactly where the specialty lies. Not a few also associate this moment with BTS's long journey as a group. Since their debut, Jungkook and Jimin have gone through various phases together, from difficult times as trainees to the pressures of the entertainment industry to the global success they are achieving today. All those experiences are believed to form a very strong emotional bond between them. Interestingly, on several previous occasions, Jungkook and Jimin have openly shown affection and care for each other, even in the context of friendship. However, this moment in Japan feels more quiet, yet deep. Not many words were spoken, but it was precisely their body language that spoke more. One of the things that makes fans even more carried away is how the interaction looks so spontaneous. No impression is made or intended to attract attention. It's precisely that simplicity that makes it feel real. When Jungkook involuntarily drew closer as Jimin spoke, or when Jimin reflexively stared at Jungkook with a gentle expression, it all felt like a small snippet of a genuine relationship. Choo Sung Hoon's presence at the moment is also an important element that reinforces this impression. As someone who is not part of the group's internal dynamics, his reactions are considered more objective. Many fans judged that Choo Sung Hoon's expression reflected what an outsider might feel when seeing Jungkook and Jimin's closeness in person. Some fans even argued that this moment became a kind of emotional validation for those who had seen more depth in Jikook's relationship. Although, of course, this interpretation remains subjective and depends on the point of view of each individual. On the other hand, discussions about the boundary between privacy and public expectations are also re-emerging. There are fans who remind that, regardless of how close Jungkook and Jimin are, they still have a personal life that needs to be respected. Moments like this are beautiful to enjoy, but should not be used as a basis for making excessive assumptions. But that's the dynamic of fandom. Every little gesture can be big, every look can be a story, and every moment can be a long-held memory. Jikook, with all their warmth and closeness, has become one of the symbols of a relationship full of chemistry in the K-pop world. What makes it all the more interesting is how Jungkook and Jimin never seem to directly clarify or limit fan interpretations. They remain themselves, showing their closeness in a natural way, without the need to explain or label anything. This actually makes their relationship feel more authentic in the eyes of many people. As time goes on, this moment in Japan will likely continue to be remembered as one of Jikook's most iconic interactions. Not because of the excessive drama, but because of the emotional honesty that feels so strong even when delivered in silence. For fans, perhaps the answer to all speculation is not the most important thing. What is more meaningful is how the moment is able to bring a feeling of warmth, emotion, and happiness. Seeing two figures who understood each other without many words was something rare and precious. In the end, whether it's really true feelings or just a very deep form of friendship, maybe only Jungkook and Park Jimin know the answer. But for the world, especially the ARMY, what they showed was more than enough to create a story that will not be easily forgotten.